Hello, this is John Miller, the creator of this podcast. Now, the Rest of Everest is probably the most in-depth look at just what it takes to climb the world's highest peak. But keep in mind that it is a series. And if you're checking out the podcast for the first time, do yourself a favor, go back to episode 0 and watch everything in order. That's really the right way to enjoy it. Thanks so much.
This is the Rest of Everest video podcast, an almost unabridged expedition experience.
Well, hello again, everyone. Welcome back to the Rest of Everest video podcast. This is John Miller. We're going to pick up this week where we left off last week with part 2 of the Savage Sisters series. Again, for those of you just joining, this is a trip that Ben Clark and Josh Butson, his climbing partner, took back in October. And they, a little bit end of September, beginning of October. And I recorded this the night they returned from China. They had just gotten off the plane and were spending the night at my house to then drive back home to Telluride. And I had just had back surgery earlier that day, so I'm a little bit tired sounding and everything. But it really was a good interview, so I'm glad to put all of this video in here and release it to you guys. So without further ado, let's rejoin where we left off from part 1. Here we go. So did you guys summit anything?
No, we did not.
Yeah, I didn't remember hearing anything specifically as we've been talking about this. But you kind of switched your goal from ascending to try and what was your ultimate success there?
The success is using your head and coming home safe.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, basically, we got to go where no one else has been again, and we knew how to do that. We knew how to do it despite there are lots of risk and consequences. When you get through the forest, yeah, that's one thing, but then you've got gnarly water to drink, Then you get up and above, and we had how long was that boulder field?
That was, over 2,000 vertical feet.
Yeah, like a 2,000-foot boulder field that basically, at any point in half, felt like I was going to go sliding down the entire thing with a couple of tons of boulders, or a boulder was just going to come from above and just cut me right in half. It was awful. Your rocks would move, your ankle gets stuck between two rocks, and you're sitting there thinking, this is crazy. We just want to get up to this saddle, and maybe once we get to that saddle, this space in the mountains that was flat between two larger peaks, that from there we might be able to find a different way down from here. I mean, it was just bizarre, really hard, and scrambling, and it was crazy, just absolute. Like, you look at the hiking, the approach just to the peaks, and it's hard to separate that from any crux move, like any most difficult physical maneuver that you might use a decimal rating system to rate as technical. When you look at this stuff, the risk far outweighed the reward of actually getting to most things, because you recognize that the peak itself might be climbable, but getting there might break you in half. That's pretty big odds that you're going to take it pretty easy once you get to the mountain. And so we got up there, we set up a camp after going through this enormous, terrible boulder field, and we got there at 16,500 feet. That day was decent weather. We were really able to see, portions of the mountain, figuring out where we might head, what we might do. And that night, once again, we had high winds and freezing rain for most of the night at 16.5 and above. So our peak, which is snow and ice, was getting lots of rain on it, which is not very good for snow and ice, especially when there's rock involved. And so we wanted to start out, I think I set the watch for 4:15, something like that, 4:30.
Yeah, 4:30, yeah.
And wanted to get up and get out early. We didn't end up leaving the tent till 8:30 because we had to wait for the rain and the winds to subside a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Finally stopped and got out, and wow, everything is covered in a thin veneer of ice and gets kind of slick. And so I'm like, well, let's go, and so we get out there and start climbing up this head wall, which is a steep portion of the mountain that was snow, and it ended up being about 400 feet long. It was really steep, not vertical, but steep and solid snow and ice. And then kept climbing and climbing and climbing and climbing. It was really fun. It was easy for us because we were just so excited to finally be in the snow, in the mountains, and on some ice and going for it. Finally to be up high, because mostly we'd just been staying down low where it was damp, gnarly, nasty, and hard just to get around. And so finally we were light enough to move quickly. And we get up to a little spur and, been out front for about 1,800 feet. And finally I was like, hey, Josh was ready to get a lead on. And we had this section leading up to a rocky pyramid of snow and ice. And so Josh gets out front and starts walking up. And basically, once again, we kind of got hosed just in the snow. Like I said, freezing rain, high winds, not really good for snow. And Josh, you got a lot of experience teaching avalanche courses and all that stuff.
I've got 2 guide services of my own, and I actually run a nonprofit that we specialize, and we pretty much do the avalanche training for the Telluride, Colorado area. And definitely have a lot of experience teaching people what to look for and what not to look for. And really, biggest thing at that point before I started heading up there is Ben sort of gave me this look when we get ready to swap leads. I put on the rock rack and get all that stuff ready, but I'm looking at this snow lip, this wind lip up there, and rolling portion of snow that sort of teeters out and then turns to the rock. It's up there, and I sort of had this feeling in my stomach. I turned to Ben, and Ben's like, how you doing? And I'm like, oh, okay. And next thing I know, he's saying that he's feeling these butterflies in his stomach, and I was like, yeah, I am too. But at that point, you're up there, you're like, well, go up a little bit higher, see what we see. I think I was feeling the butterflies, probably because of the snow that I was getting ready to step onto, and also what it led to. We had a closer look at what we thought was going to be some lower angle, not too steep, a little bit of mixed rock and ice climbing.
It was just total crap. It was unconsolidated.
And it wasn't, it was definitely the snow that was on top of that stuff wasn't looking so good. It was looking like it was just hiding what we wanted to see underneath it, to see if there was any features to protect any of the rock. Or if
the rain had trashed it.
Yeah, the rain had just definitely done something to the snow. We had noticed the difference going up, the snow itself, that things were changing a little bit, and I was feeling it, and I could tell Ben was feeling it, and I started out on this lip to check out to the left, and didn't feel right, didn't look right. Start punching through it. In other words, wading through the snow where it's actually, instead of just being ankle deep, it was starting to get knee deep. And I was like, okay, heading over here. It's, a long ways down off to the left here. It was pretty much a straight drop off. I was looking down what looked like 3,000-4,000 feet straight down.
It was bad.
Yeah, Ben's giving me the nod that was about what he saw. So I decided to go to the right-hand side, and I actually started going up the wind lip and sort of straddling on both sides. And I was like, it's not great, but it's not bad. It's feeling okay at this point in time. And headed up, got about halfway up, and things started changing a little bit as I, got up towards the top. And Ben's, coming up behind me, and we're roped together, and we're on this together. And then I started to get that gut feeling of like, well, is this really worth it? This just doesn't feel right. And I went up a little bit farther, and sure enough, got up another 25 feet up the slope. And then I started to find out that I was going through another layer, and, one layer and another layer. Sometimes that creates unstable layers, and unstable layers on slopes that are steep enough. They want to slide, they want to shear, they want to slide down the slope. And at that point I was like, okay, I stopped, Ben stopped, and he's like, how you feeling? I was like, well, the rock looks like crap, doesn't look like we could protect it, looks like most of it wants to break off, we touch it anyways, and the snow I'm on right now, not so good. He's like, oh, come on up. I was like, nope, you stay right where you are.
I was like, all right, man.
You stay right where you are.
If you think so.
I was like, and that's when I shouted out down to him. I was like, yeah, there's an unstable layer up here, and I think I'm pretty much done. I'm not going any farther. I'm only 15 feet from touching the rock, but I don't think going any higher is really going to do anything for us. It's not looking safe, and these are risks that some people may have taken in the mountains, even with the training. But the way we were definitely looking at it is, we're remote. We're definitely in a country where very few people actually speak English. The last village we left is, a really hard day's quick hike out. It would have been 2 days out just to get to the village.
And then you got to mobilize everybody in Chengdu to get to the village. That's another 2 days minimum. And
if you find somebody that speaks English, that is.
Yeah, and then you got another 2 days, maybe 3, back up to where you are. So you're looking at a week before you can get any help if one of you can make it out of there safe.
Yeah. It just doesn't seem worth it.
Yeah.
You know, that's the problem with it. I mean, it's not a problem as so much as it is. It's just this is the way that we go about it. And the freedom and the mobility is great, but having the knowledge and the experience to walk into places like this and be like, well, whatever, let's go. You know, textbook. You go get your education. Be smart about it. Don't go in there trying to make a name for yourself and cut your teeth in places like this. Like, this isn't the Rocky Mountain National Park. It's not Alaska where you got the Denali Rangers, you got planes checking on you every day. If you're in China and you're out there on the edge, you're done if you blow it. And if you blow it, you've blown it for everybody, because then they're going to be like, okay, well, Americans just cannot come over here and pull it off without dying. And so you have a lot to think about. But the biggest thing is don't let good or bad external influences infiltrate your mind when you do these things. Just go in there clear-headed, have some fun, and find a way to enjoy yourself. Like, as soon as Josh said, hey, I'm like, I agree. I knew at the spur, before he started up, I didn't feel good about it. He didn't feel good about it. Gets up there, the evidence is all there, and we're like, okay, easy call. You know, we've had 10, 15 minutes to think about this. As we go through it and evaluate it, it's easy. So I was like, well, let's down climb the entire route. Yeah. Because I don't feel like I got enough of a workout. You probably didn't either. And even though it was a long, steep route, we both were feeling really strong and we're pretty, physically connected and really feeling good and into the climbing. So we down climbed the whole route, and then we went down that awful slope that freaks us both out with the huge packs, and then we walked all the way down to our camp, and then it was another 2 days from that point before we got out.
Yeah, we went down, we broke down our high camp, and then went down that terrible rock field. I think you really identified that rock field really well as thinking of making a house out of cards, out of playing cards.
Yeah, like playing cards, trying to climb the rafters in a house built of cards.
Yeah. It was very, that was, that put me very much more on edge than the climbing itself. The climbing wasn't hard per se, but,
that was easy.
Compared to what we're used to, yeah.
Yeah, that mentally... Just going down a loose slope full of rock at that exact angle where anything can just slide and tons of it will come down. Like not an exaggeration, but tons of rock will just go and cut in the entire slope. And it was just, it's like trying to, climb around the rafters in the roof of a deck of card house, It's awful. It's tenuous the whole time. You're thinking every rock you step on moves every time for 2,000 feet, and you don't know which one is going to be the trigger that takes the whole thing out. And it's like, I was talking to Josh about article names. So I'm going to write an article about this for the American Alpine Club Journal. I'm going to call the article Trigger, because that's what the whole climb is about. It's just everything's a trigger in there, and you have to be careful enough not to, you can push, but don't shove. The second you try and shove, you're over the edge, and you're taking your partner with you. If something happened to Josh, he's left there for a week, by himself. If it's serious and he can't take care of himself, he's gonna die of starvation, of dehydration, of blood loss, whatever. And that's what we've started to kind of figure out about this style of doing things, is that you can still do it, you can have a good time, but you can't. You got to be smart. We put up some really hard technical climbs last year in the same style, and it worked out great. This year, conditions just didn't merit it. It just wasn't safe. And if it's not safe, you don't need to push yourself too far, because there's no bailout. And it's like, that's more commitment than I have to, mountaineering and exploring and alpine climbing and all that. I'm not willing to give my life, my existence to it. I'll give my life to it, but I won't give my existence. I don't want to die doing it. It's kind of bullshit to go out there and have yourself a great time and then totally blow it for your buddy getting hurt, and then they have to live with you dying because you broke your ankle or you sliced your leg off.
And
It's
that's
not worth it.
Yeah, that's a big thing too with Ben talking about all this. We're not talking about taking a fall and breaking a back and being needing to stay there and take care of yourself. That's really severe. We're talking about something as simple as breaking your ankle. Breaking your ankle, unless you can make a really good cast and somehow get down that stuff, you're pretty much having to stay there until people can come and actually help you. There's no helicopters, there's no planes,
There's no landing for
there's no landing for anything. They'd have to long line, in other words, have a really long line if they even had a helicopter to be able to get into where you may be at.
And you're so high, you're 16.5 at your high camp that a chopper's not going to get up there and save you. That's too high.
Exactly.
Well, let's wrap this up
Yeah.
a little bit. We'll get into hopefully. I certainly wish I could make promises, but we'll see how my body can handle doing some more editing soon. I have to also work for a living too, so that's going to be my first priority. But hopefully we can break this down a little bit more into a multi-series like we did with last year and get you guys back and go into more detail about just why you do stuff like this, because
it's fun.
It's fun, but also these are very serious adventures, and there's a lot of risk involved, and it'd be interesting to go into justifying that risk and everything, because I know that a lot of it was justifiable and everything. It'd be also good to get to the audience to understand just how you make those decisions.
Yeah, we'd love to try to get that across to people.
Yeah, for us, it's about we do these things, we try, we fail. We try, we succeed. We try, we fail. We try, we succeed. It's you get in over your head and in over your head and in over your head, and then finally you barely scratch the surface of what you're capable of doing, and you get on top of something. And it doesn't have anything to do with summits or not. The success is in coming back and having gained some ground and some knowledge that otherwise wasn't available before. And then however we can communicate that back to other people, if it inspires them in some way to push what's possible there, well, maybe some of that information helps them know and prepare so they can go finish off this route in good conditions or whatever. So it's just basically it's like we're just out there, we're frontline pioneers looking to find the next great climbs in the world, and for what we've done, we know we can do some great things, but you got, at some point it all comes together. You get great conditions, great line, and a good partner, and sometimes you can have two of the three, and it's a total crapshoot.
Well, let's just quickly. You were sending back dispatches from this trip to Larry B's show. You want to give me that information real quick?
Yeah, you can go to www.podclimber, just podclimber.com. It's podclimber.com, and we had, I think, listed a series of 11 or 12 dispatches, audio dispatches from the trip that were live. We included some GPS coordinates in there,
which is really interesting. Yeah,
really cool. We wanted people
to go to Google Earth and you can
have some familiarity with where we are. And because we think it's a great place. If you're serious about really wanting to go, go big in the big mountains, this is a good spot for cutting your teeth after you've got some great experience, getting up and off of a lot of big mountains. But we just were sharing it there. And then, we shot a bunch of footage and took a bunch of photos, and John will, we'll communicate some of those messages to you here in the coming.
Yeah, as always, the Rest of Everest is not just about Everest. It's about supporting all the other expeditions that we've been doing and will continue to be doing. So a lot of mountaineering information. And again, so that's podclimber.com. And the dispatches are Ben, and they're really interesting. He's a very eloquent speaker, so it's fun to listen to. Anything else coming your way that you want to promote?
I don't know. I'm just glad to be home.
Yeah.
I got to go be a good fiance, go through and just be a better person. That's the best thing about all these things is you come home and you recognize how humbled you are by the mountains and that you're really not that significant, but you recognize that even, just back to daily life, nothing is ever trivial for me. And so I can't just go home and sit around and eat bonbons and, go party.
I'll do some of that for you.
Yeah, I've got to go home, back to work, and back to being a fiance and fixing up my new truck, and just typical daily stuff like anybody else, and I bet I'll probably be vacuuming tomorrow morning or the next morning, probably doing some dusting.
There you go.
Just typical, everyday stuff a dude does.
Yeah. All right, so Josh, let me ask you about what's your business again?
I've got a few different things I get my hands in. I actually am a full-time guide. I have been for many years now. I do own 2 of my own guide services that actually operate out of Telluride, Colorado. Mm-hmm. One is called the San Juan Outdoor School, and the other one is called Telluride Alpism.
What are the URLs for them?
What's that?
The URLs, the website addresses?
Yeah, the websites. You can check them both out, and also my nonprofit San Juan Field School at TellurideAdventures.com. That is plural with an S then. That is TellurideAdventures.com, or you just do a search for San Juan Outdoor School, and you should be able to find that if you Google that or go to Yahoo or something like that. It should come up. No problem.
And I want to mention again that not for the video, but for any of the photographs that you saw in today's episode, if anyone's interested in any of them, they're for sale.
Yeah.
So you can get in contact with Ben and Josh. Not sure exactly who took what, but we can get, if you're interested in buying anything, Full Resolution, I can get you in touch with these guys. Remember that we've had several people inquire about photographs and everything, and that really helps support this content.
Well, anything we can do to spread the word and show people what it's about, and if that's leaving a photo in your living room and inspiring you to get out there and even just go hike Smoky Mountains or whatever.
Yeah, or do the Appalachian Trailers, whatever it may be.
Yep.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, guys, and we'll catch you soon.
Thank you. Thanks for having us. Thanks, everybody.
Well, I want to thank everyone for following this bonus series here. My recovery from my back surgery is going very well, and I expect to be getting back into regular episodes sometime after Thanksgiving back here in the United States. So a lot of really good content coming your way. All of the 2007 material. You're really going to enjoy it. Stay tuned. Stay subscribed. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the emails. Thanks for the reviews in iTunes. I appreciate all of it. So take care, everyone, and we'll see you soon. Bye.